Hello guys, welcome back to the channel Best Place for Long-Term Stock Investors. Now, in today's video, Anwar Ibrahim has become the 10th Prime Minister in Malaysia, and we're going to be discussing what's going to happen in the stock market. As a disclaimer, none of what we say should be taken as financial advice. This is purely educational.
Right guys, before we begin, just to let you know, on the 1st of December, 8:30 PM, we will be reviving our deep dive series. And guess what? It's going to be on gloves. So if you want to hop on the early bird pricing, you need to sign up in the link or the comments and make your purchase before the 27th of November midnight so that you can get a 30% discount.
Okay, MJ.
Hello.
So, Anwar Ibrahim.
Man, it's a new Malaysia. Definitely a new Malaysia.
Yep. Okay, so this is just an awesome picture by Newswave. Yeah, I love this thumbnail. But anyways, so what does this mean to the stock market?
Well, we can look historically and do some brief analysis on the past, let's call it, 5 years of a lot of pain.
Yes.
So if you look here, the chart here, we know that in 2018, right? Was it somewhere here? Here?
Yep.
We had, the Pakatan Harapan winning. So in theory, you would think that, well, Pakatan Harapan is a more international, something more palatable to foreign investors, at least in theory. So you would think that the market would do well. And it didn't, right? It kept dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping. All the way until 2019 when Langkah Sheraton or the Sheraton move happened, where essentially the PH lost the mandate to rule. And suddenly BN is back in power. And so that dropped even further. Now, what this tells you really is that that investors overseas, what they price above everything else is stability. And so much to the disappointment actually of a lot of PH supporters. I know the buzzword that BN likes to use is kestabilan and kemakmuran, right? These are the two big ones. So stability. Unfortunately, if you want the country to do well, especially to foreign investors, you need the country to be stable politically so that they can dish out the contracts, they can allow FDI, and if the policies keep changing and we don't know who's in charge, people will be apprehensive and will stay in the sidelines, right?
Yep.
And now what is interesting is that today, when Anwar has won, now we don't know the exact seating yet, or we don't even know the cabinet as of this recording. I think by the time this comes out, maybe we already have the cabinet. But you can see actually that the reaction this time is a little bit more in between mix, right? So you got one on one hand, right? So imagine here, right, 2008 when Najib took over, he did usher in a lot of good policies, and it was also very decent, not counting 1MDB, of course. And so you can see the stock market went up quite a bit. Okay, then 2015 it dropped a little bit because of the oil prices falling and things like that. And overall, the economy wasn't doing too good also back then. And then it bounced back up to 2018 when he lost power. That's one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum obviously was the entire mess that was the PH government. So the PH government, when they came in, the word in English is firebrand. So they were going in, all right, I'm going to clamp down corruption. We're going to stop all the projects and essentially, I wouldn't say drive the economy to a halt, but definitely put quite a lot of brakes. And also the removal of the GST also caused a bigger deficit, right, in the GDP. So as a result, not just foreign but local investors also become a lot more wary. So that's the other end of the extreme. So what do we have today? What is interesting is that today we have Anwar has higher elements of stability in his coalition, right? Where you got BN, which prizes stability. And from what I'm hearing is that on the PH side, they are not going to be as, firebrand as before. So you're hearing once Anwar won the election, a lot of the politicians started telling everybody to not celebrate. And what I'm hearing is that the largest party in Pakatan Harapan, which is DAP, is saying that, hey, we actually don't want to have any ministerial positions. One of the things that really, made the other side angry when PH won in 2018 was Lim Guan Eng.
Yep.
Right? A lot of people didn't like him. Sabah Sarawak didn't like him. And so we can see the attitude is that they don't want to rock the boat so much anymore. Right? They're not going to outright say like, we're going to cancel this project, cancel that project. And even certain things like Tony Phua stepping down. Tony Phua is not exactly a politician. And so he's stepping down behind the scenes to apparently go after corrupt people. But he was doing it in the public. And so people didn't quite like that. And there's a lot of uncertainty for investors. Because now when you clamp down corruption, yes, you might get the guy, but you might end up disrupting the entire money flow.
Yep.
So that's not necessarily good. But on the flip side, you also get elements of uncertainty because we know that Pakatan Harapan only won 82 seats?
Yeah, 82 seats. Yeah,
82
correct.
seats. And with BN plus GPS, which is East Malaysia, they are forming roughly slightly above the 112 threshold. And that's also an uncertainty because although now you cannot hop parties like individuals, but the entire party itself can hop.
Yep.
So you really don't know, and they have to basically please.
They have to like create like both parties also have to like benefit somehow.
Yes, and so they really have to think, and that's the uncertainty. Will Dato' Sri Anwar pick out the best from BN? And the best are the people who are not essentially racist and all that, but people with a lot more, let's call it corporate experience, execution experience, or at least even if they don't have it, that they are quite mild and moderate. So that's why you can see the reaction. The ringgit has...
Yeah.
Wow.
It was once 4 ringgit and 70 cents. And then everybody was like screaming, buy USD right now. Look at where we at now. Right?
Yeah, man. Exactly. And I believe the stock market is up. Let's see the 5-day chart.
Yeah.
It's up quite a bit.
It was up like 5% if I last, like at the peak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's generally positive because now you've added the element of stability. Alright guys, if you didn't know, we have a one-on-one mentorship program where you can apply for, where we level up your stock investing based on tailor-made solutions. If you're interested, you need to apply. Not all of you all will get into an interview. It's only 20% of you all will do it, and even fewer will get to hop on the program. But if you're confident that you can qualify, you can click on the link and fill in your details in the comment section or the description.
Yep. Okay. So it's great that we know what's happening at the overall general market. Now, I want to go down a little bit specific, right? So, in the case of, since now we got Anwar ideas, our PM. So, which sector should we actually be focusing on?
So there are many sectors in Malaysia. One of my favorite websites is this called Investing Malaysia. Shout out. They really break down things for you here.
Yep.
And you can actually find some ideas here. Okay. Now, what is interesting, I would say, is that, again, there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of focus on like lifting the rakyat up and things like that. Now, it's going to sound very crude, but I think that that's something that investors really don't concern themselves with. Right? They don't care too much, at least in the short term, where the rakyat is heading. They ought to care about the rakyat in terms of long term because these are the consumers of the future, of the present and the future. So I think that's very important. Now, what areas I would be looking at right now is not simply in reference to what's happening in the country, but also what's happening globally. You have to realize that we are a highly export or trade dependent nation.
Yep.
Right? Not as much as Singapore, but we are very, very reliant on exports. And so one of the big exports would be tech, oil and gas, plastics, healthcare, and all that.
Yep.
So one area that I would generally avoid as of now, at least in the next 3 months, maybe 6, is the tech manufacturing stocks. That's not where I want to be. The reason is because there's just not a lot of spending going on. There's a lot of cutting back and things like that. Now, How about oil and gas? I think with inflation slowing down, it's very clear that it is driven by oil and gas. And that's also probably not where I'm going to put my money at.
Yeah.
So as of right now, where I will be focusing on mainly would be
Healthcare. I mean,
not necessarily healthcare, but in stocks that rely on more domestic demand.
Okay.
Yes.
So something like our clothing.
Yeah, clothing, retail.
Food.
Yes, healthcare is one of them for sure. But specifically because healthcare, like gloves are included.
Yep.
I'm excluding gloves here.
Okay.
That's one. And the areas like food, things like that.
Okay. That's a pretty interesting insight. Okay. So right now I think you guys know, but don't quote us though. Yeah, whatever we say is just purely educational again. But okay, so now we know which sector already to avoid and to invest in. I want to narrow it even deeper again. So in that case, because usually before we pick stocks, right, we always have to analyze what is the characteristic of this particular company. Are they actually cash flow generative? Are they actually net cash or all those stuff, right? So what sort of characteristic do you actually pay attention to?
So we go deep into this in our SIB course, which you guys can check out here. Now, one thing that we always believe in is you need to have a systematic process. So this process is to help you organize, to tell you essentially what you should be looking for when you invest in a company. So the first one is always, what's the nature of the profits of the company, right? Is it recurring? Is it once off? Or is it very lumpy? I think that's the first one. So once you know that already, essentially, I mean, there's more to this, of course. This can be figured out by understanding financials and all that, which we go quite deep into in our course. Now, but once you figure out the nature of the earnings, right, then you are able to do a valuation. So again, many different valuation methods, but essentially the basic principle is to always look at once you figure out the earnings profile, you always want to put a higher valuation on companies that have a lot more security in the earnings profile. And then in terms of, let's say if it's more lumpy or if it's once off, then you want a lower valuation. And this ties back into the concept of margin of safety, where, we essentially want to take as little risk as possible to achieve the highest amount of gains.
Right. Okay. So this SIB course is more of a do-it-yourself kind of thing. Yeah, because it's basically we showcase to you what to pay attention to, what metrics to pay attention to, and how do you actually study that particular companies, reports and whatnot, and also to understand which valuation you should actually use in different type of industry. Okay, but let's say if investors were, I noticed that there's a lot of retail investors actually leaving the market right now. I think it's because they are frustrated with the current condition. They are not really making any money, right? So in that case, right, what if there are investors who actually wants more information, for example, they want to know which particular company to actually invest into. So
so again, not financial advice, but if you're someone that you know education is important, but maybe you don't have the time, and you can't really, you don't know, I mean, you don't have the time to build yourself up as a educated investor. So we do have a program called FIRL Pro, right? It's a program where we just give you reports and you're able to read it within 10 to 15 minutes. Our promise is that if you can finish it within a cup of coffee, that's all you need. It's very simple. It's very jargon light. If you go to the typical research report, there's a lot of jargons, and the paragraph, when you read them, it just turns you off. For us, we actually have a free sample, right? But just to show you how we do it, this is a report on PNB Tech. See, we put that, it's just 12 minutes read. You can read it when we initiate. We also track the performance of the company, and we straight away, give you very bite-sized information. You see the paragraph is, very nice to read. It's easy flow, and yeah, within 12 minutes, a lot of pictures. It's not just it's not just words.
Yep. And also, I believe that you also talk a lot about the economic side also.
Yeah, correct. So we have this under the big picture report segment, right? Every month I will publish a report that basically tells you where the economy is heading and making sure that you can construct your portfolio better so that you can take less risk and make higher gains. And another thing is that, essentially 1,000 hours, probably 100 to 1,000 hours is required for you to read up and understand a particular stock. And, that's a lot of time. And that's what we do. That's what our team do. And we are trying our best to summarize all this within 5 to 15 minutes. And that's really all you need. So it shortcuts your journey. You don't have to study everything unless that's what you want. But if you don't want, FIRL Pro is for you.
Right. Okay. I think that's about it. Do you want to add any final comments on this?
No. All the best to Dato' Sri Anwar, right? Hope he pushes the country forward. Hopefully we become more united, right? And yeah, looking forward to see what his cabinet is and what his policies will be.
Yep. Okay. All right. Thanks, MJ. Okay. So if you enjoyed this type of video, make sure you smash the like button. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so that you know when new videos are actually out for you. And don't forget to follow us on our social media, Instagram, Facebook, Telegram. All of the links are in the description below. And we'll see you in the next video.